Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Are you awake?
How do you feel? I am awake. Yeah, I set 6 or 8 alarms this morning, so I'm up. I'm here. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I haven't left any on so we don't get interrupted.
Okay.
How are you feeling?
Good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. A little nervous. I was saying to James.
A little nervous.
Expected, I think.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he doesn't use video when he's doing a session, and that we can just decide whatever feels best. I've never actually done one without video.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have a preference about.
I think I would prefer video, honestly.
Okay. Me too.
I feel like the richness of communication there is worth keeping, right?
Yeah, I think it helps to be able to see your face.
Yeah. And I apologize. I'm laying down. My back's been a little bit sore, so I'm letting it rest a little bit while we do this.
No apologies. You're supposed to make yourself as comfortable as possible. So
yeah.
If at any point you need to move around or change position, it's totally fine.
Sure. Thank you.
A lot of people, when they're exploring inside, they sometimes like to close their eyes. So that's also fine if you prefer, but not necessary. Whatever feels right.
And again, are there any sort of limits for you about subject matter or how I speak to you in general? I don't know. What's a good way to ask that question?
No, I've absolutely not. Yeah. Say whatever feels right. I will say that, and you probably know this already too, if there's something that comes up that you don't feel comfortable saying, you don't have to say it out loud. So the work that happens for the most part is between you and your parts, and a lot can be achieved in silence also, with you talking to your parts or them telling you things that maybe you don't feel comfortable mentioning out loud. So, but as far as I'm concerned,
anything goes.
Fair game. Yeah, anything goes.
Sure. Right. Sounds great.
So, you'd kind of mentioned that you might have an area to explore, and I'll just check in and see if that still feels relevant, or we could also start with some breathing and just kind of see what parts come up for you.
Sure. Yeah. And I kind of took a little bit of time to meditate on it a bit this morning to figure out like what's kind of alive for me this morning. And there's a couple of things. One is like work, career, job kind of stuff. Like that's an area I struggle with. I'm currently job hunting, and that's bringing up a lot of stuff for me. And the other was what we had talked about before, was like sort of the communication thing and being more authentic in my relationships and how I communicate with other people without feeling like I'm steamrolling over the relationships, or like I don't know. I feel like it's a matter of like being able or learning how to make space for myself in my own relationships.
Actually,
and
that's new to me. That the subject that had come up before was related to restlessness, about feeling like there's parts that keep you moving, and changing address, and you're curious what their motivation is, because I think there's another part that wonders, maybe we should settle down or pick one spot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Like my memory of that was totally
all those areas I think are fair game, and
they're all pretty
often,
hot,
often there's connections, of course, between them. So I think any place that we start will probably take us somewhere valuable. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
And then you're having a back issue, you said. Is that taking up mental energy, or are you concerned about it?
I guess sort of like on the back burner, like in the back of my mind, I'm a little bit concerned about it. I have sort of like an old stress injury that flares up occasionally, and right now it's fine. I can still get around okay. But in the past, like it has flared up to the point where like I had trouble like even walking or getting around, or it'll spasm, and so like I'll lie down or sit down or end up on the floor or like trying to stretch it out or something, and then I can't get back up because it's like having spasms and stuff. So like that's super not fun when that happens.
Right.
So I have a little bit of concern over that, but I'm feeling like I'm handling it okay. As far as like physically handling it okay, like kind of babying it so it hopefully doesn't get to that point is the plan.
Right. Yeah. Being gentle and cautious.
Yeah. Being careful with it. Which is hard because like I'm in a new place and I want to explore, and I'm doing this job hunting stuff, and like I want to seem strong and seem competent and capable and stuff, and not be like, oh, my poor baby's back, I can't do this kind of stuff. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, like how does this work? Like,
so why don't we start with just a few deep breaths?
Okay.
And we can do that together. So why don't you take a deep breath in, and a nice slow exhale, and another deep breath in. And as you're exhaling, notice the furniture that's supporting you and the contact of your skin against I think you're on a bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one more breath. And then I'll just start with a question. Maybe just check inside and see if there are any parts before we get started that have concerns about being here today that haven't been addressed already.
I have a part that feels concerned that I should be more concerned than I actually feel right now. But I think that's the only thing that's currently coming up. I feel pretty comfortable and confident about this.
Okay. Do you want to take a moment to just check in with the part and see if it wants to share what it thinks you should be concerned about?
Well, before everybody else got on the call and I was sitting here waiting, I was concerned about our session not like being juicy enough for the podcast, or not having some good content, or like, oh, everything's really fine with me. Why am I here? I don't need to be here, and I'm just wasting people's time. That was the kind of thing that was coming up. I guess a part does kind of want to hold on to that concern and like perform for the audience. But I definitely have like a part or several parts that wants to let go of that idea of like performance and just kind of like be in the moment and let what comes up, and how people perceive that isn't up to me and kind of isn't any of my business, right?
Right. Yeah, so that part that's concerned, I'll just, I know it knows this already, but we'll just repeat again that no decisions are made until after the fact, that this doesn't necessarily have to get published.
Right.
And in terms of content or worrying about performance in that way, maybe would you like to just take a moment and give that part some reassurance that everything's okay?
I'm feeling like a little bit of a loosening, sort of like in my gut, like just a little bit of a release of tension with that reassurance.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I'll just invite that part to speak up again at any point if it feels concerned again. But you might want to just invite it to take on an observer role from a distance, and we'll just remind the part that any authenticity, any space that it can give us for authenticity to arise, that will take us farther.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also just say, I'm feeling a lot of tenderness for that part too. I would just say that it's really kind to be concerned about how this might benefit others, how it might benefit James, and worrying about that versus, just a selfish goal of what I can get out of this. So I think maybe take a moment and thank the part for thinking of others.
I'm feeling myself starting to tear up a bit.
Does that feel okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tears are welcome.
that part didn't feel very like big or important when I first mentioned it.
How did it
Sorry, I'm trying to
respond
find
to
the words
the
because
recognition?
it's a very like, yeah, it's an abstract sort of feeling, like realization that like there's a lot more there than I guess I gave it credit for. Um, um, I think it's the same part that sort of gives me a hard time showing up fully and authentically in relationships. And like in a context in a like with a structure like this, I have an easy time like quieting that part down or minimizing or dissociating from it or whatever that sort of like distancing might be without actually like acknowledging. And I'm glad you brought like attention to it because I was ready to just dismiss it because I'm like, oh, it's not important. I'm here. I'm comfortable. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like a coincidence that it came up too, because you had mentioned that topic of wanting to focus on communication and how to show up differently.
Yeah. It's definitely something that like I won't necessarily say I've been working on, but I've been noticing and like um kind of grappling with that what feels like an inability to speak up. Like the memory that's coming up for me right now is something that happened at a previous job where I I was bringing the company car back to work from out of town, and the company car had a radio in it for me to be able to let the other workers know, hey, I'm leaving the car here and I'm leaving the keys inside in the break room in this spot. And part of me really wanted to just like get that message across and let people like be considerate, let people know where the keys are. And part of me, I think this part that we identified, that's concerned about performance or concerned about other people's perceptions. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pick up the radio and just make that call and say, hey, this is where the keys are going to be. And I had sat with it for a while and trying to identify like, why is this something like I ended up like the car has a radio in it, and I got out of the car and went sit in the break room with a handheld radio in my hand for about like 15 minutes. I timed it. Like I sat there with the radio in my hand, like I keyed the mic a few times, like, oh yeah, the radio's working. I can just say what I have to say and be on my way. And like there was all this resistance there about that. And I think what I had identified at the time as like what felt like the reason for that was like I don't know if I'm going to be interrupting somebody's work that they're doing, and I don't know if I'm like, is this the socially acceptable way to communicate this information, or should I just like leave them a note, or should are they going to see the note if I leave them a note? And I ended up like I sat there for 15 minutes and then I put the radio back in the break room and I sent a text and I left. And that ended up being what I did because I was like, okay, that's the least intrusive way for me to get this message across, like, and make sure they actually get it. And there's like this part, I think, is really concerned about being intrusive or taking up too much space or being a burden on other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So so before we started the call, that part was already worried about using this hour, and not, but concerned about other people's impressions of the hour. Okay. Yeah.
And like in a context, in a structure like this, I have other parts that can jump in and sort of like logic the system out of that train of thought and be like, this has been, regardless of, this hang up about being intrusive or being a burden to other people, like this context makes it so that like, this hour is about me. This hour is like, like these are the roles that we've taken in this situation where I'm not the one that's supposed to be prepared. You are, right?
Right. So are you okay getting to know this part a little bit better? Does that feel like a good way to start?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good. So maybe think back to just before the call started and kind of like, dip inside and see how you become aware of that part's presence. Is it something that you sense in your body or nearby? Or is it a particular thought that pops into your head? Just take a moment and see what happens. Could be both.
Right now it's like kind of a blank almost. And I have this like manager part that's trying to like grasp at that thread, grasp at that like, okay, let's get back to that. Let's get back to that train of thought. That's like that's the assignment.
Right. There's always so many parts that want to do it right.
Right.
If you want, just take a moment and assure those manager parts that there's no right answer. They can just kind of sit back and relax. This part's probably a shy part too. It's not going to jump forward.
Yeah. Like having those managers kind of sit back a little bit. I'm feeling kind of like a frog in my throat a little bit.
Okay, great. That
I'm
makes
tearing
sense.
up again. Yeah.
Stick with that sensation of the frog in the throat. Is that a familiar feeling? Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And I associate that feeling with like getting to know myself better, or like coming into contact with parts of myself that I maybe didn't know about or didn't acknowledge. Like I feel sort of like some grief coming up, I think. And grief feels like almost the right word, but kind of adjacent. I'm hearing the words, I just want to be good.
So that's the part saying that, and I just want to be good.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's coming from that part or from somewhere else.
Okay. So ask the part, what sort of role does it have in your life? So we've seen this example, we've seen two examples now. Today it was, reminding you about performance or the radio. Didn't want to interfere. Yeah, so ask the part and just see what shows up, if it's willing to show some more memories or words about what actions it takes.
What came up was being palatable when you asked about the role it takes. And that's something I spoke with somebody else a couple nights ago about being palatable as like something I wanted to let go of. Like that word, like using that language to describe kind of like this dynamic that's going on is new to me, but like it's kind of funny that it came up like twice in the last couple of days. Like really strongly.
Can you ask the part how it does that? It seems like that it's identified that as one of its responsibilities. How does it do it?
I'm kind of distracted from the question because I have a part, I don't know if it's this part, expressing like a resentment towards that role.
Great. We need to know about that.
Yeah.
That was my next question, actually. How do you feel towards this part? So we'll let that other part speak up.
Like I feel like I want to like reach out towards this part that's trying to be palatable. Like I get the sense it's like kind of almost hiding in a corner, like facing away from me, like facing a wall.
Okay. And another part express something like resentment. Does it feel sort of like an impatience towards the part, or why are we still doing this?
It almost feels like that resentment is the same part. I'm getting the words, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this.
Okay. And it sounds like the part's maybe feeling put on the spot. Is that possible?
No. Well, let me not speak for it. Let me check in.
Great.
No, I need to deal with this, was the response I got. When I
Does
asked,
it feel like it's coming from the part?
it feels like it, and yeah. I have another part coming up that's saying I'm doing IFS wrong.
The other part saying you're doing IFS what? I missed the last word. You're doing it wrong.
I'm doing IFS wrong.
No, that's impossible. I might be doing it wrong, but no, you're doing it great.
Yeah, it's like it's a very like managey part that's like oh, you know, these things, the different like feelings and stuff. Oh, those can't be coming from the same part because this one's a protector and this one's an exile, and they have their little parts and their little roles, and they have to like stay in those boxes.
Yeah. I'll just say to that part, I'm going to speak directly to that part for a second.
Sure.
That there's so many surprises that come up, and yeah, parts can be sometimes have all three of those characteristics at the same time, and so we don't have to jump to any conclusions. They'll give us the information we need. We just take it slowly.
Yeah.
See if you can imagine that part again in that space that you mentioned. It's kind of hiding, perhaps in a corner. It's turned away from you. Where are you in relation to that part right now? Like at what distance?
Maybe like 8 feet or so.
Okay.
But I don't feel like I'm part of the scene. It just feels like I'm observing the scene that's happening like in a play almost, or on a like something that I'm not really a part of.
Does it feel three-dimensional, or does it feel more two-dimensional?
It feels three-dimensional. Like it feels like I'm watching a dream almost, like I'm not really there. I'm watching stuff unfold. But like I don't have, like, I'm disembodied. Like I don't have I don't take up space there, but I'm watching, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So let's check in, because there's probably other protectors who are feeling wary. Let's check in and see if there's any part that doesn't want you to approach the part in the corner.
I got an image of like some flashing lights and sirens. I don't know what that means.
It's kind of a universal sign of danger, maybe. Does that sound accurate?
Maybe.
Okay. Go back inside a second and just check kind of an open-ended question for anyone who's present. Like, does this feel dangerous?
I got something there. Like it was very abstract. It felt like, or looked like someone like doubling over.
Mm-hmm.
um okay, I got some words. It doesn't matter if it's dangerous, you're gonna do it anyway.
Is that a familiar voice?
Not internally. Like I guess it's my internal voice for other people in some ways. I tend
Is that
to like,
something you heard as a young person?
yeah. Um yeah.
Hmm. So we don't want to bulldoze our way forward if there's really danger present, but we can take care of it and make sure everyone feels safe. So let the parts know that it's not your intention to force any part to do something that doesn't feel safe.
Like I first wanted to ask, like, what do you need from me to feel safe? And I almost feel like that question in itself is manipulative because it's like, yeah, we're gonna do it anyway. What do you need to feel okay to because we're gonna do it? Like, um I like how you worded that. Can you say that again?
Um, yeah, I think so. I'll try. So our intention is not to bulldoze our way through this and force any parts to do anything that doesn't feel safe. And maybe you will do it anyway, but not necessarily today. And in due time, with a lot of caution. Just let all the parts know if there are parts of you that need your help, your intention is to reach them and give them that support.
I'm feeling like a little bit of disbelief, I guess, in response to that.
Does the part that feels disbelief want to say something?
I'm getting a sense of like throwing up their hands and like scoffing, like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um,
Does the disbelief have something to do with the intention to help the parts? Or is it more a disbelief about being able to deal with the danger effectively?
I'm getting a sense that it's disbelief that um that that I'm going to do it carefully and that I'm gonna um like make sure every part's heard rather than just like dissociating from the inconvenient parts. Because I'm like, oh, I want to talk to the part in the corner. Like, come hell or high water. That's what we're doing today. But
does that make sense to you that there'd be some
it does.
skepticism there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just let them know that you understand.
Um, I'm acknowledging that, like, yeah, I understand. There's no that we don't have that trust built there. Like, it makes sense that they don't believe me right now. Just because that's how I so frequently operate.
Just to clarify, tell me if I've understood correctly. There are parts of you that feel like even when they express reservations, no one listens, and then they're feeling trampled or ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's take a moment to attend to those parts for a second. Is it okay to leave the part that's in the corner and send a message to that part that we're coming back? We'll get back to that part.
Yeah. Let me take a moment to kind of reconnect there. It's kind of like a sense of resignation is what I got from that part in the corner. Yeah, sure.
Like hopelessness or okay. I'm making a note. We're definitely getting back to that part in the corner.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And how about these other parts or one part? I don't know if it's more than one, or the ones that feel like they're on the sidelines saying, no, wait. It's dangerous. Why are you doing this? Is it possible to check inside and see either if you feel them in a certain part of your body or have a visual image of them?
I'm feeling almost like distracted from the question, and I don't know if it's poor working memory on my part or another part coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have parts like that too that make everything foggy suddenly. So the question is, there's at least one part that feels like it expresses caution and nobody listens. Like there may be danger approaching the part in the corner, and it feels like perhaps you'll do it anyway, even though it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. And do you have a sense of what that part looks like or where it is inside?
No, I have another part like sort of talking over it, like we have to do it. We have to do it is what's coming up. And like that's referring to like talking to the part in the corner. It's referring to like we do what we have to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter if I'm ready for X, Y, or Z, if you know, if I need a job to be able to pay rent, like it doesn't matter if I don't know what I want my career to be. Like we have to do it. It doesn't matter what we want, we have to do it.
How do you feel towards that part?
Kind of pissed off.
Oh, okay.
Distant, aloof, like I see its utility, but there's like resentment towards needing a part like that.
I understand. Would it be possible to generate a little bit of appreciation for the job that it's had up till now, keeping everything on track? And
I'm sort of like the relationship, like in relationship to it, seeing it as an object, like the way I said, like it has its utility kind of thing. And then I have this other part piping up with "I hate you," talking to that part that's trying to keep things on the rails.
Right. So is it possible is it possible to imagine both of those parts at the same time? The one that's saying "I hate you," that's possibly also the one that was like urging caution just a bit ago. And then this part that gets stuff done.
Trying to picture them at the same time. I have a better sense of the one that's like trying to get stuff done. The one that said "I hate you" kind of hid after that.
I hate you and I run.
Yeah.
Okay. So just an experiment, could you try to imagine yourself sitting at a table and invite both of those parts to sit with you? We'll see if we can coax the "I hate you" part to come back and tell that part it's safe, everything's under control at the table.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing the part that's keeping things on the rail as this sort of like big, blocky, like abstract geometric art almost. And we're both here at the table and we're inviting the part that hates that one or says it hates that one to join us.
Yeah, this is like neutral territory. So the table, all the parts are welcome. As you're imagining the big blocky part, is it on the right side of the table or the left side? Where is
it's
it
to my right
located?
We're at like a big boardroom table and it's sitting like directly to my right, and then there's like 8 or 9 chairs on my left where the little "I hate you" part can come hang out if it wants to.
Okay.
I'm getting the sense that like it's in the room with us, but it's not at the table.
Okay. Can you imagine what part of the room it's in?
Sort of off to my left. I'm imagining like a little mouse hole in the wall to my left, and it's like kind of tiny and hiding in there.
Okay. Can it hear you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, make sure it understands that the chair is there at any moment if it still doesn't feel safe. Important things, the communication.
I'm setting up like a much smaller table on top of the big boardroom table if it would like to come and sit up there so it can be on the same level as everyone else.
Yeah, great. Or if you can think of some other thing that it might need to feel a little bit safe, maybe ask it. You could put up a little plexiglass in front of it or something like that.
I'm imagining it sort of like speaking across the room, not very coherent.
Did it join you at the table or is it still hiding?
I think it's thinking about it.
Okay.
Like I want to put a little piece of cheese there for it.
Ask that small part what it would need to feel safe.
For that like great big looming presence to be gone, to not be there, or to not be so big.
Mm. Did the part on your right hear that?
I think it did, because I think I'm like fairly blended with it right now, because I'm definitely like I've got this like, okay, come on, let's get a move on attitude right now.
Right. So let me just say, Alex, that even if there's not enough time today to get it all done, so to speak, I'm happy to do later sessions. It's not a problem. So I can make a commitment that we can work slowly if that's what the little part needs to feel comfortable.
I think that's actually more what the big sort of manager part needed more than anything, was like
need to know that it's not over if it doesn't happen immediately.
Yeah, like permission to loosen the grip a little bit, and like, yeah, it's great that we're like trying to seize an opportunity here, but like it doesn't have to be that um it doesn't have to be that much pressure.
Right.
And I saw it sort of rain and like condense down into the shape of like an actual person instead of this like blocky shape.
Okay. So now on your right, you're sensing a presence that's almost like a human size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And can you talk directly to that part and ask if there's something the part can do to make the smaller part feel welcome at the table?
The bigger part on the right is sort of like speaking over me and saying like, I don't care if you hate me, like we have to do what we have to do. Hate me all you want, you don't have any power here.
So it sounds like there's a sense of urgency on your right? How do you feel, Alex, about us listening first to that part on your right? And we'll hope that the smaller part can also hear from the mouse hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that feels
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the part on the right afraid of if we miss this opportunity? What's the fear?
Like there's the sort of like practical fear of like, okay, I don't have the money to like go and find a IFS therapist and have regular sessions. And then I'm getting the more like abstract existential fear of like everything's ephemeral, everything is like you don't step in the same river twice kind of thing. So like there is only like, even if we had a regular therapist, like there is only this one opportunity for this one specific thing, that we want to make the most of, like the life that we're living, and we want to make the most of moment to moment. And like there's a part of me that logically knows that like making space for everything is making the most of the moment. But I think this part on my right doesn't buy that. It's like, no, we can force it, we can make it happen. We have that influence. We can just do it. We can just do it and not not be so careful about it. We have to just do it.
Yeah, there's an IFS teacher who says, slowly, slowly, and we'll get there faster. Yeah. How are you feeling towards the part on the right at the moment?
I still feel like the relationship I have with that part right now in this moment is like between like an agent and an object rather than between two agents, if that makes sense. Like like I'm having a hard time relating to it as like I'm having a hard time generating like compassion or curiosity towards it. Like it just feels like, oh, it's just there. It's like a hammer or a wrench. Like it's just a tool that's just there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So okay, then let's suppose that it's a part that's seeing this object as a ways to, like a means to an end, right? This is a tool that helps you get things done. Is that part willing to step aside or wait behind you so that we can get to know this part a little better?
The dynamic here is kind of funny, or it seems funny to me. Like asking that part to step aside and it kind of going, nah. And then the part to my right going, okay, well that's fine. We'll just continue on anyway. Let's just say that it's stepped aside because that's what's gonna progress us. Like
yeah, it's got its eyes on the prize.
yeah.
Right. And the part that doesn't want to step aside maybe wants to join you at the table.
Yeah, it's willing to do that. It's sitting over on the left side, like on the very far end of the table.
Okay. And what's the state of the little part right now? Is that part hearing everything and watching everything?
Yeah, it's not in the hole anymore. It's sort of like just outside the hole, just like keeping an eye on stuff, checking it out.
Okay. Okay, good. As long as that part can hear and watch. So would the part on your right, would this part be willing to share a little bit more about how it perceives its role in the system? Do you think you can interview it?
Yeah.
Ask the part how long it's been doing what it does.
I'm getting an image of or a memory of when I was in maybe 9th, 10th grade. I took the ACT in order to get into a residential boarding school because I hated the school that I went to growing up, and I wanted somewhere that I could like spread my wings a little bit better. And I went, like, I had a hotel because we had to go out of town to take the ACT, and having something like an existential crisis of like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And like not resolving that at all, and then going in the next morning and taking the test anyway.
Uh-huh. Like just the pushing through, no matter what happens. We can't give up on the goal. Yeah. And as that part sharing that with you, how are you feeling towards it now?
Like grief is what's coming up for me. That not necessarily even towards that part, but like towards the system as a whole of like like I'm sorry that we felt that our only option is to push through and make it happen, and regardless of the cost, you know.
The cost to the other parts,
right,
that weren't heard. And okay. And how does that part on your right, how does it respond to that grief? Do you think it understands?
It's got a very like stoic, almost like expressionless thing going on, like just hands folded on the table, like unflappable kind of thing, like just it is what it is.
Alex, ask this part how old it thinks you are.
Um 14 was the number I got.
Okay. Does that make sense? Was that an age when it kind of had to take over?
It's like I would have been 15 when I took that ACT, but yeah, it makes sense. Like there was kind of a lot going on around that age.
So take a moment to just let this part know that you're not 14 anymore. And like take a moment to introduce yourself and bring it up to date.
I can feel like a little bit of like crack in the veneer at that, but like the response I got was still like, yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are, you don't got this. I got this.
Okay. That makes sense to me. It's kind of a new paradigm. And we're not asking the part to change right away. We're just suggesting that there might be another way.
And it kind of challenges that idea that there's another way. I get the sense that having this role kind of makes it feel important.
Uh-huh.
And that it doesn't have any confidence that other parts of the system can fill its shoes or carry things the way it carries things.
Okay. Okay, take a moment and let the part know that makes sense, and that the goal, the ultimate goal, is that yourself is going to step in more and take on some of that responsibility, so it doesn't have to do it all by itself. But all the parts are important, and none of the parts are going to go anywhere. And so the more they can work together as a team, the more the decisions that are going to are going to feel more sustainable and safer for everyone.
Yeah, the response I got to that is self is too slow. That if we had to wait for self, then like nothing would get done.
Okay. Ask this part if it likes its job.
It doesn't matter if I like my job. It has to get done.
Does it get tired of doing this job? It sounds like it's working really hard.
I I got an image of like the Energizer Bunny, which like sort of endears me to it because I didn't really like peg it for having a sense of humor.
So by showing you that image, is it saying like, no, I'm not tired, I could do this forever? Or is it saying,
It
yeah,
seems a
this is
little
nonstop? Okay.
Like, yeah, we could do this forever, but like you're making it harder on me than it needs to be, is the sentiment I'm getting.
Is there a way to transmit to the part that by attending to the other parts that are feeling nervous or cautious, you're actually going to make this part's jobs easier?
On some level, it understands that like slow and steady is actually going to be more effective in the long term, kind of thing. On some level, like logically, it understands that, but like still has trouble letting go of that. Like, we have to hurry, we have to rush, we have to get this done. We only have so much time. We have to get this done.
Ask
and like,
this
yeah,
part.
on some level, it understands like that's not how it works. Like, that's not how IFS works. That's not how life works. You can't force things to happen. Like, you have to create space for them. On some level, it gets that. But that's not the tool it likes to use. That's not the strategy or approach that like makes sense to it.
Can you check in with the part and ask it what is it afraid would happen if it didn't do this job the way it does?
The whole house of cards collapses.
How do you feel when you hear that?
Like in agreement, like yeah, I get it. Like the way I and some of these other parts like approach everything. We have to have this part in this role that's kind of like holding the pieces together, being the glue, and making sure that all the like different little pieces like somehow come together into a whole that keeps us alive and keeps us okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how to phrase this question? Is there another part that this part protects by pushing forwards?
The response I got was like everyone. Like
Okay.
I protect the whole system. I keep everybody in line, and I keep like our body, our apartment, our job, like all that stuff, like all of that would collapse without this part.
Does that make sense?
It does. Like there's this sort of skeptical part of me that's like questioning, like, well, would it? Like, sure, things would probably be like worse, maybe, but like if this part let go a little bit, like logically, things aren't going to fall apart tomorrow. They're probably not going to fall apart next week. Like, yeah, this part is doing an important role, but it's not as dire as that part maybe makes it out to be, or believes it is.
So Alex, let me just check in with you because we've been at this now for an hour, and I don't have time constraints, and I think we could get more information from this part if we want to, keep working with it. But I want to be respectful of your time too, and make sure we're not. I know it can be tiring to spend this much time inside, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Let me check in and see if everybody else is good.
Okay.
I'm sensing like curiosity from like the tiny mousy part about where this is gonna go.
Okay. Yeah. Like she was, or the part was hiding, and maybe she's starting to worry, like, but will I get my turn? Are they going to come back for me?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about continuing on here.
Okay, great. So just staying just a couple more minutes with this part over on your right. Could that part share with you what its biggest desire is for the system? What would it like to see happen?
for the system to be able to relax without things falling apart. And like I see that as like the part that's been driving me to like, okay, let's find some alternative income sources so that like we have money coming in and don't have to worry about that kind of thing. Like
So
that desire makes sense to me, but wasn't what I was expecting.
right. Yeah. So
From
that,
the heart.
the desire to hear from the part that it actually would like to see everyone relax. And so just check in and see if it feels like its tactics are working to kind of forward that goal.
The response I got is, I'm doing the best I can.
Okay. And then just see if offering it some support, how that lands with it. Like if Alex from self can take over some of that responsibility and help other parts relax so that things flow without so much resistance. Would that sound appealing to this part?
It does. Like, the idea sounds appealing, and like it immediately wants to go into, well, like, how's that going to work? Like, what is that going to look like? And how is self going to do a job that I've been doing for years and years, and I barely got a handle on it? And how are you going to get a handle on it? And like, why is that going to make any difference? It still needs to get done.
So one thing I might say to that part is that, for example, if we were to go back to that part that's in the corner originally that we left back in the corner there, that is connected to the word palatable and has a hard time speaking up or is worried about what the things it says, how they might land with other people. So, for example, if there's a way to get back there and to give that part what it needs and to help it unburden, then it would likely make the part that's afraid, the part that's small right now, less concerned. Because if it sees that you've been able to heal that part, then it has perhaps less to worry about and would be resisting less when the big part wants to move forward or take on a new goal. So just run that by the big part and see how it responds.
I'm getting a sense of like willingness and also like a little bit of like shrinking, like maybe creating space, or at least taking up less space itself.
Okay. Right. So it's like the order of business, right? I think this part originally wants to get to that goal, would like you to take care of that part that we saw at first, right? But it needs to understand that it's also important to listen to the concerns of the smaller part who's being cautious. So that all parts can kind of get on board and work together as a team, and then it's possible to go with all that energy and take care of that part that's waiting for you.
Yeah, and like on some level the big part gets that, like teamwork and cooperation is going to make this go a lot smoother once we can get there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to hear that its goal, what it really wants for the system is, it sounds like it wants that. It wants the system to relax so it'll be easier to get things done. Is that correct? Yeah.
Um,
Does it have other goals for you?
yeah, like
Desires?
to relax, not so that it's easier to get things done, but more, I mean, I guess on some level it is. It's more that like it wants to have like physical and material needs taken care of permanently is its goal, so that more like ephemeral sort of self-actualization type needs can take a front seat and not have to split attention between um sort of like self-intimacy, self-actualization, and like trying to get my material needs met at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
um
Does that make sense to you?
it does.
Mm-hmm. It's got a very practical sort of approach, sounds like.
Yeah. uh yeah.
Is there anything else that it needs you to know about its desires or about how it operates?
um it's quiet enough that I'm getting other parts like coming up and distracting and saying like, how did we get here? We started like way over here. How did we get here?
Right.
Where did this boardroom come from?
Right. So
um
we left the original part back in that space with the promise to return.
mhm,
And then we came into this space to try and create a little bit of balance between the part that was expressing concern about going to the part that didn't want to show its face. But then it turns out that the big part on your right is a little bit intimidating. And so this part that's expressing concern hasn't yet had a chance to express itself. So I really would like us to get back to that original part, but I think it's important to also check in with the small part and just
mhm,
give it a chance to say what it's worried about. If we go back to the
mhm.
first part. Just check first if the big part on the right now willing to listen to this to the other part on your left.
Yeah, it's kind of like relaxed back a lot at this point, and um sort of like passed over the torch, passed over the talking stick or
The
something.
talking, okay. Nice. And does the other part receive it? What's the energy like over on the left side?
Yeah. It's more like human sized now. And it's willing to sit at the table and is sitting at the table.
And how are you feeling towards this part now that it's joined you at the table?
Um Curious, mostly confused, like who are you and what are you doing here? um
Let the part know
no,
that
just
you're
like,
curious and that
yeah,
you'd like to hear more of its story.
it's open to that.
How does it see its role in your system?
it's expressing like dissatisfaction with delayed gratification. Essentially, it's like, well, like I want to be able to stop and smell the roses. I don't want to be like train on the tracks all the time. I want to be able to like explore and I want to be able to stop and smell the roses. Like that's sort of the vibe I'm getting from it.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of expressing some of its resentment about the other part that often takes over and rushes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if this part could have its way or anything it wanted, how would things look different? Imagine this part is in charge, gets to be president for a day.
It's saying if we let the big part be in charge all the time, we're going to spend the rest of our lives pursuing something that doesn't exist, and having never actually like lived the way we want to live. They're saying, well, if I was in charge, we wouldn't worry about all that stuff. We would kind of trust that we'll be taken care of, and not worry about forcing it and making it happen, and just kind of trusting that like what needs to happen will happen, and no matter what happens, we'll be okay.
And what are this part's fears? Can it share those with you?
The fears that like came up initially were like, okay, well, if we do it that way, we're gonna end up homeless on the street somewhere. But I don't think those fears are coming from that part. That sounds like that's coming from my right.
Okay.
This part is afraid of conforming to some degree. I'm getting like fear of being trapped, but I don't know if it's coming. I don't know if that's coming from this part directly.
Okay.
And that tends to be like something that comes up a lot for me, is this like fear of being trapped, but I can't tell exactly where that particular fear is coming from.
Yeah, it seems like it could have to do with that other theme that we talked about of needing to move around. So let's focus in a little bit on imagining the part that we left at the beginning of the session, because I believe it was this part that was feeling very cautious and almost keeping you at a safe distance, as if you were watching a movie and not feeling comfortable about you going forwards. And see if it's willing to share anything about that with you, about what its concerns are.
I'm hearing like if we talk to the part that wants to perform, and then it's just kind of blank after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does it imagine something bad will happen?
I'm just getting this like sense of frustration. Like frustration that I'm not understanding it intuitively, maybe. Like I should know what the fear is, and the fact that I don't is some indication of I don't know, something.
Okay. Is that a part that's wanting you to do everything right? Or do you think it's the same part?
I don't know. I'm wanting to just like step back and listen for a second and see like,
Yeah.
is this coming from this part? Is it coming from the little mousy part? Or is this coming from elsewhere?
Okay. Take your time.
I'm feeling like the corner part sort of becoming activated because like part of me like wants to really like sink into this and like really listen and really make space for what comes up. That corner part's just like, hey, this is getting published. We're gonna have an audience. You can't just be silent for 2 minutes and expect people to keep listening.
No, sure you can. You can be silent for 3-4 minutes. I'm sure that can be edited out afterwards. So those parts that are feeling concern, again, make sure that they understand that there's no one that needs to be impressed at all. You can just pretend like it won't be published. And it's important to take your time.
Like I'm noticing that like I think the performance part was activated there, and the big part that just wants to keep things on the rail and get things done was activated, and like they still look the same even when they're activated. Like the boardroom still looks the same, and the part that's activated still looks like, it doesn't look like they're activated, but like
somehow they're feeling the pressure.
Like feels activated. Yeah.
Well, at the risk of upsetting everyone, let's just slow things down a tiny bit more, and then and focus in on, like, bring all of your attention to this part that we had called the mousy part at one point, but now it's taking up more space at the table, right? Can you check and see what the part would like to be called? Is there an alternative name we can give it?
The word that came up to me was charm.
Okay.
Which part of me is a little bit frustrated with, because I'm like, that's not descriptive. That's not going to help me remember who that is. But that's the word that came up for me.
Okay. Well, we can try it out for a while and see if it sticks. So right now, as you're focusing your attention on charm, what are you feeling towards that part?
Still curious, still like confused because like I see sort of like aspects there that I recognize, but like I guess not in a context that I would normally recognize them in. So
What kinds of
mostly just
aspects?
like this desire for freedom and desire for um slow down, smell the roses. Not everything has to be done on a schedule. Let's just relax and take things as they come. Like all of that is very, very familiar to me. Um, but like historically, when that's come up, it's always been like really big, like the only thing that matters. Seeing it in this context of like being this little mousy, afraid part is different for me.
Mm-hmm. Have there been times in the past when this part has been able to call the shots and make decisions for you?
Yeah, it's really like impulsive and wants to like go where the wind takes us kind of thing. And I definitely have indulged in that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe indulge in that like less and less as I've gotten older and like, okay, well maybe we need to get our life together kind of thing. Um and not just be impulsive and uh kind of associates the impulsivity with like being destructive. Like you're screwing up everything we've worked on.
Other parts think this part is destructive in the system. Is that accurate?
I think it's specifically this bigger part
Okay.
is the main place that I hear that coming from.
Okay. And this charm part, how old does charm think you are?
18 was the number that came up.
Mm-hmm. And does charm know who you are? Can charm see you there at the table? Or is the attention more focused on the big part over on the right?
Like it's present and sort of waving to me and stuff, but it almost feels like the way you'd say hello to like your cashier or something, and that like yeah, you're a person, but like you're kind of just a NPC in my life kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Um yeah, so it's like it's aware of me, but not like in relationship with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Is there a way to express an intention to this part that you would like to strengthen the relationship?
Its response was sort of like, you don't get it.
Can it give you more information about that?
um I'm seeing it kind of like sprout flowers from all over its body. Um and sort of like shaking its head side to side, and the flowers are waving around, and
does this part feel like it's part of the team when it comes to making decisions and taking action?
no.
And would it like to be part of the team?
Yeah, that like you're not gonna listen to me is what it's saying. It's like you don't get it, you have to experience it. I can't explain it to you. You have to like really be there, really be present to understand.
Does that feel true?
It does, yeah.
So in a way you do understand it, right? If what it's saying feels true, then can you let it know that you think you probably understand?
It's worried that if it's like part of the team, or if it's not able to just do its own thing, that its colors will be dulled, or that it won't get as much of a say as it really wants to, or if it's part of the team, then it's not really free to do what it will. Like, I'm getting the sense that it's very like individualistic and wants to be like free spirited, and will be like stifled if it has to sit in this boardroom for longer than necessary, kind of thing.
Uh-huh. And the way it's operating right now, is that working for the part? Does it feel like it gets to be in charge enough of the time?
No.
What kind of support would it need to feel like it's living its perfect life?
It's saying like every time that it expresses like a desire, that it gets overruled, which I'm sort of judging as like that's a little hyperbolic, but not totally untrue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Supposing the communication were improved with this particular part, and it had like more direct access to you. If it were having, desires or impulses that might be really lovely for the system, it could check in with you directly and then let you make that decision instead of trying to fight with the other part on your right.
Yeah, it's like just immediately started, like didn't even listen to the rest of the question, and just immediately started like pointing fingers at like the part on my right and the part in the corner that wants to perform, and it's like these two idiots. They're always going to get in the way.
So take a moment again to let the part know that the goal is a paradigm shift. So that to an increasing degree over time, you'll be in charge more of decisions, consulting and gathering information from the parts, welcoming their input, taking their needs into account. And let the part know that you understand that it doesn't have any reason to believe this at this point, but that's your intention.
Like on some level, it does understand that having a variety of inputs, a variety of perspectives is like not only useful, but like is fun and spicy, and like that its life will be a lot more colorful with more sort of diverse opinions and ideas and worldviews.
Like, it's willing to contemplate the possibility. Does that sound accurate?
It's like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I don't like them.
Mm-hmm. So the part on the right, like, we've focused a lot of attention on that part on the right today, but it's just one of many. There are a lot of parts that aren't even here at the table, and they're all important. They all have something to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's warming up to that idea of like like they can be like the system can be like one big like hippie commune the way it would like to be, rather than like being something like stuffy or for it to always get overruled. Like I can understand the desire to be free spirited, but I know that this part also has the desire to like be in community, and that like I understand it not wanting to compromise, but like connection doesn't necessarily have to be compromise. It just has to be like accommodating, if that makes sense.
Right. Like up until now, if what it's been attempting hasn't been working very well, then if there's more back and forth between yourself and between this part, and more listening, then maybe it'll feel like it gets its way more times, possibly.
Yeah.
Is there a way to ask this part how long it's been doing what it does? Well, I'll call that, say, like focusing on freedom or trying to take you away to a better place.
It's saying like, I've been here since the beginning, baby. Like I've always been here.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to check in again, Alex, and see how you're feeling, because we've been going for a while, and I don't want to burn you out.
No, I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Okay, because I'm curious if it's possible to check in with this part we'll call charm, and see what its hesitation was before, when we were experiencing the part in the corner.
It has this idea that like if I talk to this part that like wants to perform, that that I'll take its side over Charm's side.
Uh-huh. And how does Charm see, how does Charm believe it's different from that other part that's worried about performing?
Charm believes that they're different in pretty much every way. Charm just wants to be in the moment and not worry about how we're perceived, or to some degree like doesn't even want to worry about like how we're impacting other people. Like just wants to be spontaneous and like finding our own joy moment to moment rather than like worrying about how that's affecting other people. And it perceives this part in the corner as like the opposite of that, of only wanting to look at how we're being perceived. Are we people pleasing enough? And not making any space for like spontaneity, authenticity, flexibility, any of the stuff that like Charm really values.
Okay. All that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so let Charm know that, or rather ask Charm if it were possible to go to that part in the corner and hear its story and help it unburden the weight it's carrying, so that that part were free also. It might make things safer for Charm to be spontaneous. Does Charm understand how it could be helpful to get there?
Yeah, like the reaction I got there from Charm was like, oh, okay, we can make this part be more like me and be more free and spontaneous like me.
So let Charm know that we don't know what the outcome will be, but surely if that part is carrying a burden, probably the burden is felt all throughout the system. And any part that's able to release the burden, it's going to have like rippling effects that help to increase harmony.
Yeah, I let Charm know that like we don't know what's going to happen, but we can find out. And that appeals to Charm.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel ready to go back and try and make contact with that first part?
Yeah, I do.
And no pressure at all, because we could also do it on a different day if that feels more comfortable to you. How are you feeling energy-wise?
Like my immediate reaction is like, yeah, let's do it. But I don't know if that's just that like on the rails part talking. Like, okay, this is our opportunity. We have to do it now.
take a moment and check in and make sure, because it's really important to get permission from everyone. If there's a part that's vulnerable and needing some attention, and there may be other parts that feel concerned still about going forward. There might be a part that you haven't even seen yet today that's worried about it. So just make sure that everyone's on board.
There's a part that's coming up that doesn't like that, doesn't like the expectations that I have coming up for me. The like, okay, this is it. We found the exile. This is gonna be the big thing. And it's sort of like rejecting those expectations, and like, you don't know that. You don't know like who that part is, or what it wants, or what it needs, or what role it has. We don't know anything about it, and we're going in with all these expectations, and that's not cool, bro. We don't need to go in with all these expectations and like put all that like pressure on the interaction.
Yeah, take a moment and thank that part for stepping in and voicing that. Because it's really true. We don't know. We don't even know if that part is an exile.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say again, this is not the only opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we meet the part that is concerned with performance, even if we meet that part and spend some time with it today, it might turn out not to be an exile, or we don't know what's going to happen. Perhaps there won't be any great sense of relief, but it doesn't mean that there aren't exiles out there. And I'm happy to work with you on a different day too, and we can explore. Is that reassuring to the part that's worried?
Yeah, I'm just internally kind of talking it down, like, that like we don't. There's a part that has expectations and like wants to kind of like organize and structure everything, and like, this is what's going to happen, and these are going to, like, we can kind of control the outcome if we know it's going to happen. That like we can kind of create some distance there and not indulge so much in those expectations, and just like have an openness to whatever comes up, and whatever that looks like is, it's not my problem what it looks like. It's we're in it for the experience.
Mm-hmm. Would it be possible to envision like a little waiting room and invite any parts that are feeling expectant, just to invite them to just wait it out in a waiting room? And you'll have access to the videos sooner or later, and then they can see what what transpired. Because if we can go into that next phase with fewer expectations, then I think you'll be more open to noticing anything that comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're willing to kind of wait with their expectations and just kind of see what happens.
Okay. Anyone else who has concerns?
I'm feeling like a little bit of tension in like my gut.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's still coming from like expectations, like what's gonna happen, and I have this like the big part on my right's just like, okay, let's just do it, like we don't have to have expectations if we just do it, like.
I wonder if that part would be willing to wait it a little bit, take a bigger step back, or go to a waiting room. It seems like it's really taken on the role of a cheerleader, but we want to make sure that no one's feeling pushed or disregarded.
I got an image of it just like laying on the floor right next to the table.
Okay.
I'm just letting everyone know that like it's okay that those expectations exist. It's okay that we have those expectations. We don't know whether those expectations are going to match reality or not, and it's okay to not know that right now. And it's okay that there's like space there that we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with expectations. We don't have to resolve those expectations right away. Like they can just exist and we can exist in this moment and we don't have to like charge ahead. It's okay. Like, the opportunity isn't running away. We're just here. We're just vibing.
Does it feel like that's helping? Does that create more space?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And how are you feeling at this point?
Relaxed, open, a little bit hungry.
So check in a moment and to your best ability, and check in with yourself and see, does it feel like it makes sense to keep going, or would it make sense to do this on a different day? To go back and check in with that part. Because we've been here for a while, and if you're hungry, I just want to make sure that no one feels pressure.
I can hear like the big part that's still lying on the floor, sort of wailing, like, come on, just do it, just do it. Um, and I'm feeling like like it does make more sense to like put a pin in things here. Like this is maybe a good stopping place to kind of wind things down and like process what's kind of went down in the last hour and a half that we've been here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a part that's also concerned, like if we go forward, but if you're exhausted or you're hungry, or like if we're just trying to get to a goal, then maybe we might miss something important. And I understand the parts who are concerned or think that I don't want to lose an opportunity, but I just, the opportunity is here, and we could even set up something for Thursday. You said you were also available on Thursday, and we can ask James if he'll host us again, and then just pick up where we left off. If it feels better to come at it kind of with a fresh. But I want it to be your decision. For me, either way, it would be fine.
Yeah, like, I do feel like, God, I really, really just want to, I want to go and see what happens. Like, but I don't know, it does feel maybe kind of goal oriented. Like, where's that kind of urgency coming from? Part of me feels like, oh, I want to end on a high note. Like it just kind of petered out at this point. Like, no, I want to go and I want to go and find more stuff. I want more new stuff. I think I would like to at least, like, I'd like to go and say hi to that part that we started with that's in the corner.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was planning to not end without checking in and making sure that it knows that we'll come back for it. Yeah. So would you like to approach the part and then just kind of see what unfolds? Maybe we'll find out what it needs in this moment.
Yeah. And I think I'd maybe like to like set some kind of limit there that maybe that we check in like within, I don't know, a few minutes of checking in with that part. Like I would like to check in with myself again to see where I'm at and how I'm doing. And I have a tendency to like jump into things without limits and then like sort of get in over my head and not that I can't handle it. I can handle it, but maybe not without like cost to myself or whatever. That like everyone in the system feels a little safer if we do have like at least some kind of limit there, and then that gives us the freedom to like go and explore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'd like to go and say hi to that part with the intention to like check in a couple of minutes and see how we're doing.
Okay. So are you still comfortable?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of excited, like, yeah, we're gonna do it.
Okay, so what would it take to get there? You want to focus on body sensation or just on that visual image from before?
I like that the visual image. I feel sort of like I still know exactly where I left it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And I'm still hearing like we have to be good. I'm like surprised and impressed with how like clearly I'm hearing that part versus like I feel like it was like the other parts it was like kind of tentative what unfolded there, but like I don't know, with this part it's just like I don't know, I feel like it's very clear about what it wants and where it stands.
Mm-hmm. So can you describe again what you're seeing, what you're feeling as you're imagining the part?
It looks almost like it's wearing like a straitjacket, but like not tied up, like arms just hanging by its side and like long dark hair,
Mm-hmm.
kind of just like nose to the wall, standing like in the corner, but like facing one wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like a dimly lit room, and like I'm there but not, like it's like watching the inside of a dream.
Is there something you think you could do to bring yourself there more physically? For example, maybe take a step forward.
Like I want to physically like reach out and flip on the lights and find a light switch and flip it on.
Can you ask the part if it would be okay with that?
I did it already. I'm sorry.
How does the part respond?
It just shrugs. We both have bare feet.
What do you think that means? That you both have bare feet?
I want to like what came up was like we're both like grounded here and now.
Uh-huh. And the part's still facing the wall?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you feeling towards the part as you watch it?
Like I want to reach out and sort of like just lay a hand on its shoulder and let it feel me. And I want to ask it first, like if that would be okay. And it's okay with that.
Yeah, okay, great. How's it responding to you reaching out?
It's like turned to face me and like face but no face, like I think almost like it's wearing a mask.
And now how are you
like
feeling towards it?
Like I want to lick it, but I think maybe that's charm.
Mhm. How is it responding to you? Does it notice you there? Does it sense your presence?
It's like here, but not like it turned to face me, but I don't know if it really sees me. I'm seeing now that like we're not in the room anymore. We're like on a beach. And it's still wearing the same thing and we're both still barefoot and I'm like it's kind of digging its toes into the sand.
Mm-hmm. And now what are you feeling towards it?
Like I wanna like invite it to like kind of play in the sand and like sit down and maybe dig around with our hands and like sit and talk and like be able to kind of like have something to do with our hands that's tactile.
Does it respond to that?
Yeah, it's willing to kind of sit down with me. I'm trying to like put myself there more and imagine like what am I wearing while I'm sitting in the sand and I'm sitting like on a towel so my butt doesn't get all sandy. And this part is like hairier now than when we started. When we started, it was kind of like wayfish, and now it's like kind of growing some really like thick body hair on its arms and legs.
Mm. And what are you feeling towards it now?
Mostly curious. Wondering like what it's going to show me and what we're going to talk about now that we're both sitting here together.
Does it seem aware of you? Does it feel like it's able to look you in the eyes?
It's giving me the impression that like it's here but it's not. Like what I'm looking at is just a shell. That like if I looked under the mask or like under the body hair, there's nothing there. It's just that. Like all I can see is the facade.
Mm. Do you want to take a moment to check in with all of those other parts with expectations or parts with concerns?
At least one part with expectations is just like, this is not what I was expecting. So I'm kind of, I don't have anything else to offer here kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The part that tries to keep everything on the rails is still lying on the ground. Charm, I don't know where Charm like ran off somewhere. I don't see them anymore.
What does it feel like the general mood is about continuing with this part versus letting the part know that you'll come back?
Relaxed is I'm not really getting any kind of urgency or like, oh, we have to go, or yeah, everybody just seems pretty chill to see how this unfolds.
Okay. So we can go back to that spot on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Does it feel like that's the right spot for this conversation?
It does. Yeah.
You're alone with the part.
Mm-hmm.
So see if the part's willing to share with you what kind of things it does to keep you safe. Because at the beginning of the session, we saw that it pays attention to the things you say and how you might come across to people. See if it can fill you in more.
Fill me in more about its role was up there.
Yeah, about its role. And I'm asking because it's still unclear about whether it's an exile or a protector that's perhaps protecting a more fragile part. See if it will describe its role to you.
It's saying I keep us safe and I keep other people safe from us.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And how are you feeling towards it now?
I actually got a little bit of like a disgust response coming up about the protecting other people. That I'm surprised by.
Okay, so the part that responded that way or is feeling disgust, just ask it really nicely to give you a little space so you can learn more.
Okay.
What are you feeling towards it now?
I'm feeling like I just kind of want to cup its cheek, like that just seems like a big responsibility to have to like keep everybody like it just seems like a lot to try to take on.
Let it know that you're understanding the magnitude of its duty. Did it share anything with you about how it keeps you safe and keeps others safe?
Can't be seen, can't be known, can't be understood. I'm just noticing the sort of like contrast between like that strategy and like my desires for all those things to be seen, to be known, to be understood.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's saying if we're good enough, if we're useful enough, if we're competent enough, that like nobody will have a problem with us, and that's somehow protective of like both myself and everyone around me.
Mm. How does it feel about this job or this duty that it has?
Um, um, it's saying like it doesn't want to be just a shell, it doesn't want to exist at all.
Can you say that again, Alex? It doesn't want to be a shell.
It doesn't want to exist at all.
Mm. And this part is interfacing, so it's wearing a mask and it's somehow filtering the information that's put out there in the world to keep Alex safe, and so that the real information is it's not revealed. Yeah, does that sound right?
It does.
And this part would like to not have to do that, or it's just exhausted period.
Yeah, I think it's exhausted period. I'm getting an image of it kind of like wanting to like melt into the sand.
And can you let the part know that your intention is to help it? It doesn't feel like it's carrying all this by itself.
It's expressing some disbelief that I can do anything to help it.
How do you respond to that?
I want to ask it what it needs from me. But I also feel like that's the wrong question, that it's a little too goal oriented. that what can I do to support you, or expressing a desire to support it might be the more compassionate sort of answer here.
Yeah, is there a way to share your desire with it? The desire, maybe you don't know exactly how at this moment, but your intention, like even you can even visualize your heart opening and sending love towards the part.
Yeah, when I asked like sort of how it wanted to be supportive, I got this image of me like putting it on and wearing it, like like the shell, like just putting the whole thing on.
Does that make sense to you?
Like yes and no, like that's literally supportive. Like you don't have to melt into the sand anymore because I'm carrying you, kind of thing.
Right.
But also I'm kind of like, okay, like I don't think it was meant to be a literal physical thing. Like what does this actually mean, like on this metaphorical level? And I'm coming up short. I think what it's trying to say, the vibe I'm getting is that like it's a part of me too, even though I tend to treat it as like this separate entity. Like the last time I was in therapy long term, I didn't recognize it as this specific part, but like I called it like my filter. Like everything that comes out of my mouth is like filtered based on how I'm expecting the other person to take it or what the context is. And sort of treating the part itself that has that strategy of filtering as like that part is the burden, that part needs to be taken away or gotten rid of.
Right. I wish I could just get rid of this filter and then everything would be easier.
Right. And it wants to feel like it's part of the system too, that it's part of the team.
Yeah, that's good information. Let it know that you see that and that you don't have any intention of trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. And I'm happy for it to stay here and for me to like wear it like a second skin, and it can just live here. It doesn't have to be quite so solid, but it can still be here, like. And I think that's what it wants. Like it's telling me that it wants to melt, or it wants to like not be. To me, that reads as like I don't want to be so solid.
Can it show you? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel sort of like connected to it right now. Like I kind of get where it's coming from.
Yeah, there might be another option though, other than putting on the suit that does the filtering. Can it share any information with you about why it does what it does? Why is it so important to filter?
It's saying like they wouldn't get it. Like I need to protect us. And it's spinning up this metaphor of like you wear clothes to protect your body from the element, but you don't like wear a wetsuit when you're going downtown because that would restrict movement and be too warm and like not appropriate for the context that you're in. That like it makes sense to be protected, but it has to be like appropriate for the context.
Mm. That's the part that's telling you that? Or a different part?
It sounds like it's coming from this part that like is really insightful about sort of what it needs or what it's looking for, what it's trying to accomplish. And it's saying like because I've tended to like reject it wholesale of like I want to get rid of this filter, it's had to be more forceful and more solid than maybe it would have been otherwise had I just like been okay with it just being part of the system and being like doing its like let it do its job. Instead of like trying to force it away.
Can it show you what it's protecting or who it protects by filtering? I mean, it said it's protecting your system and it's protecting others. But if it didn't do this, if it just stopped filtering, what would happen? There's some underlying fear.
I'm getting like a like an image of like a teeny tiny little like a stone or like a piece of coal almost. When you asked what it was protecting, it's I think what it's saying is that it's like protecting from like rejection or from like the pain of rejection. That like again it wants to keep things palatable because it wants if we conform, if we're palatable, tolerable to other people, if we're useful, then other people will treat us as like a person.
And that little stone or that coal, what does it seem like that represents?
The word that came to mind was like inner child, like like innocence and playfulness, spontaneity, but also like very sensitive to rejection, specifically from like authority figures, like wanting to be safe from the ire of people who maybe have power over it or have power over me.
So ask this part if it were possible to go to that child that's represented by the stone. It sounds like it doesn't want to give you access yet, but if it were possible to get there and to shower that child with exactly what it needs and validate the child, that it's valuable to the system, it's important, and that you can be there for it from now on. Then the job of filtering wouldn't perhaps be such high stakes for this part in the future. It doesn't have to stop filtering, but maybe it can do it in a more playful way. Does that sound appealing?
Like it wants to believe that, and also has like reservations about giving that access. And what came up there was like not today.
Does that feel right to you? Does it feel like the right response?
Yeah, I do want to honor that. Like, and I also want to spend more time with this like filtering part, because I feel like I haven't gotten everything. Like I feel like there's still a lot more there to be like discovered. Like it seems like it wants to talk about like it wants to talk more about like what its role is and like the justifications that it has for that. Like it feels like it needs to explain itself, which valid, because again I've not been the kindest to that particular part.
Right. It makes a lot of sense to me too. Yeah, to give it all the time it needs. So let the part know that you want to come back and spend more time with it. And then also, if you can commit to this, Alex, or at least commit in terms of, your best intentions of checking in with this part every day. It can be a brief, really brief thing. It's basically like, I remember you matter to me. Is there anything you need me to know right now? And also the other parts that you met today, charm. And do we have a name for the other part?
Let me ask. No, I don't.
Okay, there's a visual image though, right?
Yeah.
The on the rails part. That emotion that's coming up now, how would you describe that? Is there a part that needs to say something?
Well, I asked the part on my right what it would like to be called, and it answered James, and I was like, well, we can't use James because James is running the show here. Would you like to pick a different name? And we kind of explored some options there.
I'm imagining he'd be honored. So if you want to try temporarily calling the part James until you come up with a different name, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that.
It's saying we can use the name Kestrel.
Okay. So to your best ability, if you can check in over with the recommended amount of time is like 3 weeks, which is perhaps a little arbitrary, but the idea is that by checking in every day, the parts learn to trust that you really do plan to be here from now on, available to them if they need to express themselves to you, ready to listen. Yeah. Okay. And just take a moment now to thank them all for everything they shared with you today.
Mm-hmm.
And see if there's anything else anyone needs to say before we say goodbye.
The filter part expressed some appreciation about like me giving it the time of day.
Mm-hmm. It has an important job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll in the future we'll be able to relax in certain situations where in the past it's been on guard, but there are times that happen in life where a filter is necessary. And
yeah.
It was really lovely to meet your parts.
And thank you for facilitating. Is that the correct word?
Yeah, I like that word. Facilitating a dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I appreciate having that like direction and focus. It's really like if I'm doing sort of self-work, it's really easy to kind of get lost in the weeds or to dismiss things that I'm in the habit of dismissing.
Yeah, that's pretty universal, I think.
Yeah.
It helps to have an outside voice.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure. So we'll get James back in connection with his telephone and
yeah, sure.
and
I hope
then
having a good time in Vietnam.
And I'll send an email to both of you to see, because I at least one more session with you. Okay. And I'm happy to make myself available to in the future if things come up. And so yeah, another session that we can spend time with the filter part. I don't know. I'll let you decide if you want that to be on Thursday or if you want to take a week or for more processing or what feels right.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. If you would send me another one of those doodle links, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds good. So let me just check with James and see if he can host us again. And if he can't host us for any reason, we can just do it. We could also do it on our own. Okay.
That sounds great.
Really,
thank you.
Yeah,
so much.
Really a pleasure, Alex. Yeah. Take good care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. join the Discord server, or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.